following is a production of Sharkflight Media.
From mechs to mages or agents to argonauts, this is the world of Chris Kennedy Publishing. This is the CKP Future Books Podcast.
Welcome, everybody, to this month's edition of Future Books. We have our intrepid publisher this month, Chris Kennedy, back, and we're going to be talking about the September releases from Chris Kennedy Publishing. We have a full agenda this month. We have more books, I think, than we've ever had in a month from Chris Kennedy. We're easily going to beat last year's publishing record, and I am amazed at the number of books we're getting out this month. Do you ever get any sleep, Chris?
Once in a while, for short snatches. This is a big month, though. Like you said, Randall, it's I think we've got 8 to talk about. We'll probably gloss over a couple of them, just mainly because we have so many. But I'm here to tell you they're all great books and well worth your dollars to pick up.
I can see that, and I can see that we have several of our favorite series and a couple of our very favorite authors coming out this month. So many of our fans should be able to pick up some of the books that they're eagerly awaiting. And you surprised me with a book that I didn't even know I was waiting on. So this is going to be a good month for your podcast host this month.
Absolutely. And I know the one you're talking about, and can't wait to discuss it.
So I guess we'll go ahead and start, since we've got 8, so that we don't keep our listeners listening to a podcast too long this month.
I'm just waiting for you to pronounce the first one.
Yeah, I'm going to sneeze at the end of it. So I'm going to give it a college try. The Ghost of Xicotepec. How close was I?
I don't know. That's why I was waiting for you to do it. I'm not sure I can do it. Xicotepec.
Okay, we'll give it Xicotepec, and that is from our author, James Tarr. Tell us a little bit about it.
Oh, absolutely. This is the third book in his Echoes of Pangea series, the one that has the dinosaurs on the front. And this has, the same folks are back as were in the first couple. And it is every bit as exciting, as the first couple as well. This is one of my favorite series here recently. I think that James Tarr is just a phenomenal author. He does a great job describing things where, as you're reading it, you can almost see it like it's on the big screen. I think that these could easily be made into movies, like Jurassic Park, only better.
I agree. And some of the most colorful characters that we've had recently, the Sergeant Major.
Seamus makes me smile every time, he shows up, and just the way he carries himself. And
he's larger than life.
He is absolutely larger than life. And the helo pilot that gets the shakes, when she gets the shakes, you're in trouble.
It is a wonderful series, and just the right amount of humor. Each story just moves right along. It's a thrill ride.
Absolutely.
And then on the 6th, we have the next book in the Coven series, and it's a series where, in my opinion, we have some of our most beautiful covers we've ever had. And this one is The Elemental Coven, and by Kayla Krantz, a new author for CKP. And I have to admit, this is a great series if you love fantasy.
Yep. And like you said, Shez did a wonderful job on the covers. I gave him this is what I'm looking for. And he got it. He got it right. And then he took it exponentially better. These turned out even better than what I had envisioned in my head, and just they're gorgeous covers. Absolutely. It's the second book in the series. Kayla did a great job with this series. And in how she broke down magic into the land of 5. And I think that folks that like the first book are going to love this one, because you start to see where things are going, and the main character finally starts really taking more control of her environment and becoming the person that you want her to be. This really is a trilogy where there's a big character arc. Sometimes at the beginning you're like, come on, and you finally see her starting to grow into the person you want her to be. So it's really cool.
I've got to say that I'm starting to get a little jealous. If you look at the covers for the Coven series and for the Eldros series and for the Reluctant Druid series, I'm beginning to think that Rob's maybe passing a few bucks under the table to the artist. So now, it's got in big letters, Chris Kennedy Publishing. So we're going to have to, I want to start passing a few bucks on the science fiction side and get these covers on the science fiction side now. I think he's pulling a little bit ahead, Chris.
I don't know about that. I mean, if you look at the Ghosts of War, the Gods of War series, that, then Darkness Rising, which just came out last week. I think those are great.
The Valkyrie Initiative cover is a great cover too.
Yeah, and that's by the same guy that did the Coven, Elemental Coven. And once again, I gave him some guidelines for, hey, this is what I'm looking for, and he did just a wonderful job with that.
Yeah, everybody needs to be looking out for that cover in that book. I will admit that made up for a lot of lost ground.
Yeah, we'll get there in a second.
Yes, we're getting close. On September 9th, we've got The Futility of Intent. The Futility of Intent is the next book by Mike Wyant. So tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, absolutely. That is the fourth book in that series. And, like I said, with the Elemental Coven, you're definitely seeing the arc. The first couple books had a number of different characters, and now they've all come together and they're having to work together. Which if you've been following along, you'll know that all of those characters are somewhat strong-willed. So having to work together is a bit of a challenge. Mm-hmm. But there are bad things happening, and the only way that they're going to be able to overcome is all of them have to work together, and it's not going to be easy. And I will just tell you that. And you can see from the cover, the bad guys are here. You've got the guy on the back of the shuttle shooting the red fire, which is the demon fire at the people. So. Badness is happening. Badness is happening.
And then on the 13th, we have the next Eldros novel, and that's written by Mr. Merritt. And
it's actually Miss Merritt.
Miss Merritt.
Yes, Kendra Merritt.
Kendra Merritt.
Yep. Who is making her first entry into the Eldros legacy. I have heard great things about this one. I haven't been able to read it yet, but Rob has told me that this one was ready to go when he got it. And he loved it, and everybody else is going to love it too. This, helps flesh out one of the islands, and you're really just I'm looking forward to seeing everybody's response. Kendra's a new author to CKP, although not entirely new. So I think that people are going to get a chance to see somebody new in how she does it, and I think they're really going to like it.
Yeah, this Eldros legacy continuum has been a real thrill ride, and I've enjoyed watching it evolve.
Yeah, it was a little rocky at the start, but they're now firing on all cylinders.
They've hit their stride.
Yeah, they have hit their stride, and Kendra really is helping this one along.
And on the 16th, we have this month's featured author. She edited this anthology, and I want to go ahead and say that anyone who is looking to spend money this month and has a few extra shekels in their pocket, if you're looking for something to read and can't make a decision, this is the book that you need to put your money on. I have read it twice. There is not a bad story in this anthology. It is absolutely one of the best books I've read in a long time. And I was telling Chris off air that Marisa Wolf, who is the editor of this anthology, I don't know what she's drinking, but Chris had better find out and send a case of it to every author that CKP is publishing, because I swear she gets better with everything she does. This is a great series. This is a great anthology, and There's going to be a lot more books written from the stories in this book. So this is the book you need to hop on now, because this is the start of a train, and you want to get on this train right now.
Right, and this is going to be an offshoot of the Hit World universe. This is called the VALKYRIES Initiative, which is what the name of the anthology is. And Marissa is going to be shepherding this offshoot line, and it deals with all female assassins. And the book is great. The stories in it are great. She's recruited a lot of people that like you said, wrote great stories. Some people that you will recognize, and some people that you will not. And those are always the gems in the rough. Kind of like, Marissa was the first story, that she worked on with Casey Azell, and nobody knew who Marissa was. Now, 2 years later, she's blossomed, and she's taken the literary world by storm. And I'm starting to wonder, how much longer I'll have her before she goes, up to Bain more, because I know Toni Weisskopf has her eye on Marissa. So, I'm trying to get everything I can before she flies the nest.
Toni cannot have my Marissa. I'm sorry.
Well, that's what I said too, but as long as we share, I'm good with that.
But this I cannot stress enough. This is a great book, and the stories are the perfect length. There is not a bad. Sometimes you get an anthology, and if you get it's like buying an album. If you get two good songs out of an album. Albums are these black things you used to play on these things called record players. And if you got two good songs out of them, you were happy. This is Sgt. Pepper's. Every cut is great. You want to listen to it over and over again. This is the Pink Floyd's The Wall. It is really good. So, spend money, buy this book. So
I'm kind of confused where you stand on this one, Randall. Are you saying it's kind of good?
Maybe. I don't know.
Cool.
Okay. On September 20th, we've got Chimera Coup, and this is by a gentleman that I have followed for many years. Never met him in person, but I have read him since he wrote fan fiction. Chris Nuttall, he was a frequent member of Baines Bar, and he has written fan fiction. He has written self-published fiction. He has written in CKP anthologies, and now he's written Chimera Coup. Tell us a little bit.
He is one of those people that is such a good writer that he wrote himself into a trad pub contract. He was doing his own thing, indie publishing, and it was so good and attracting so much notoriety, positive notoriety, that people started looking for him rather than vice versa. And I said off air that Christopher is a savant, and he really is. I mean, he can put down easily 10,000 words by lunchtime, and 25,000 in a day. I mean, he's amazing, and they're all good words. It's not just, like reciting the dictionary or something like that. These are all good words, and he writes great stories. I've been lucky enough to have him in a few anthologies along the way. He's written in, I know, the Four Horsemen. And basically, anytime we need one more story and it's, we're running out of time, I'll go, hey, Chris, what do you think about a story for this? And, the next day I'll have it. And he does both sci-fi and fantasy. He does both well. He was in the alternate history series we did as well. Because there isn't much he can't do sci-fi fantasy. And he had a School of Magic series that did just phenomenally well. And he had an idea for a new thing, somewhat like it, but different. And he brought it to us. And it's, if you like magic, you're going to love this. It's really a neat premise. I don't want to share too much until, Rob gets some more information out there. I know the behind the scenes stuff, and you're really going to like this. And best of all, what you're going to get with this series is you'll get 3 books from Chris, and then the universe is probably going to become a shared universe. So fantasy writers out there, you're going to want to take a look at this and start gathering some ideas for how you may want to join in.
Well, I will say that if it has Chris's name on it, I want to read it. So I would recommend it to anybody. So
absolutely,
I will say buy it. If it's
Chimera Coup is the first one in the series.
Then, just like Braves baseball, for those of you in the South, we've got our 3rd and 4th batters coming up, the people that we want to not the home runs, and so we finish up the month with 2 books, and it's our heavy hitters. The book that I did not know was coming out, and when we go off air, I'm going to twist an arm really, really hard, because there was a book last month, the LYONS Pride, that knocked my socks off, and I found out that the second book is going to be out September 23rd.
Those 2 authors got together and wrote a second.
And as much as I don't like one of those authors, I'm going to read it. It's Chris Kennedy and Marisa Wolf again.
Yeah, we sat down to write. This was the book that we intended to write. This is World Enders, and we got partway into it and realized that. I had intended to do a story about the lion after I wrote this one. But we realized really quickly once we started on it that we needed the lion story first. And it was also going to work out a lot better to be the first story in the series, because it could be a new entry point into the Four Horsemen universe for a lot of people, because it kind of gave a lot of background without having to force it. So we did that one first. We wrote the entire book in about 2 weeks. And then we wrote this one in about 2 weeks. Like I said, this is World Enders. It is the second book in the Phoenix Initiative, and this one's more closely aligned to the former storyline, in that at the end of the last book, and here's a spoiler, so close your ears if you didn't read Tempest Rage yet. The humans end up in charge of the mercenary guild, and bad things happen to the Vitano. And this is the story of what bad things happen to the Vitano. But it's more than that, because one day in the Four Horsemen Facebook group, somebody said, "You know what we haven't seen? We haven't seen a Salsha peacemaker." And I said, well, that's because the Salsha aren't really in the Galactic Union yet. But, Thor was told that he needed to send somebody, and this is about the time that somebody would be finishing up the Peacemaker Academy. So we brought out who that was. And if you've seen the cover, it's got a mech, and it's got a Salsha dressed as an Old West Peacemaker. And there are reasons for that, which you'll have to read the book to get all of them. But there are just a number of different characters that you've seen previously. This'll tie up a lot of different things from a lot of different previous stories. It will probably open some new things, because that seems to be the way we do things in the Four Horsemen universe. We tie up a few things and we loosen a few others. But this has one of my favorite characters of all time in the Four Horsemen universe, which is the peacemaker. I owe Kevin Eikenberry a drink now. The Phaedra peacemaker from the Set the Terms anthology. And in that one, in that story, Marissa wrote that story, and I was like, oh my God, I need to know more. You need to write a whole book about that person. And we didn't get a whole book about him this time, but we got more. And I got, to enjoy writing it with her. So it was a lot of fun, and she still needs to write another book about it.
Take my money now. And then we're going to end the month on September 30th with our featured author from last month, Kevin Eikenberry, with Vendetta Protocol, which is the next book in the Sleeper Protocol series, which was the first novel that Kevin wrote.
Absolutely. And this continues Sleeper Protocol. This is just like Sleeper. This book was also released previously in 2016 or 2017. Got the rights to it. It's back out again. And then, next month, or actually in November, we'll get the third book of the series, which has not ever been released. So, if you haven't jumped on to the Protocol Wars, grab Sleeper for last month, Vendetta here, this month when it comes out, and be ready for the final book in the series, because you're gonna love it.
Well, I tell you what, that's a complete and full month. I think, like I said, in the 2 years that I've been involved with CKP with the podcast, I think this may be the most books in a month I've seen published. I don't know if it's the most that's been published in a month with CKP.
I think I did 8 once before, but this is, without a doubt, the biggest month.
So this is amazing. Before we check out for the month, do you want to give us maybe a little insight in how the overseas sales are doing and how we're doing as far as audiobooks and things like that? Oh,
absolutely. The sales over in Germany are going really well. The team that does CKPI, the I standing for international, is really working hard, and we have translated not only a number of CKP books. I think we're actually up to 70 right now. We have done released 70 books in Germany. We have 8 books released in English this month. I think we have 12 in German. So CKP basically did 20 books this month. But it's going really well over there. We are doing not only CKP books, but we've done some books from other authors. We've done a series from Mel Todd. We're doing some of the Athon books, Wholesale Slaughter from Rick Partlow, several other authors. So that's all going really, really well. The audio continue. We continue to put out every book we can in audio, and we've been really successful. The Abner Fortis books, I think, are caught up as of the next one that releases, which has already been turned into ACX and will come out on Audible and Amazon as well. Here in the next, it should be by the time people are hearing this, they'll probably get that one. The person that's doing the Lunar Free State series will be, he just moved, which is why those books kind of took a little bit of a hiatus. But he has just about finished his new studio, and he should be back, getting those out. So he said he intends to do all of the Lunar Free State ones back to back to back. So those are going to come out quickly. We just released Action by Nick Steverson, which is in the Salvage Title universe. That is the 6th book of the Coalition. So we're getting books out there, in a variety of series. Gods of War has already gone to audio. That one should be out fairly quickly. It's by the same person that's doing the Abner Fortis series, John Perala. So that one's going to be great as well. I'm really looking forward to that.
Oh, that's great, and I'm happy to hear that the overseas sales are doing well too. So we look forward to doing this again next month, and hopefully we'll do 8 again. And
I don't know. I need to sleep sometime.
Well, you know, I'm sure your lovely wife enjoys the fruits of your labor. So she probably wants you to do 10.
I'll tell you something right now though. There actually are 8 in October.
Well, have a good month, and we'll talk to you again next month.
Okay. Thanks a lot, Randall. Looking forward to it.
And that was Chris, and everybody. I hope you buy every book that we talked about that's coming out in the month of September. And now we have a special treat. My new favorite author with Chris Kennedy Publishing is with us to talk to us about her very full month of September, Marisa Wolf. I have told her through emails, this is the first time I've got to speak to her in person, that she is now the person that I look to. If she co-authors anything with a CKP author, I just automatically pick it up, because she is the turbocharge of every CKP car that gets released. If she gets put on the engine, you know that the engine is now running at full efficiency. Marissa, thank you so much for taking time out of your busy day to come on the podcast. Thanks for being here.
Oh, goodness. Thank you so much for having me. I've been looking forward to joining this, so thank you.
You have got so many books out and so many things coming out. I don't know what to talk about. We can talk about Lyons Pride. We can talk about the Valkyries Initiative. We can talk about World Enders. We can talk about stuff that you've already had released that's so good. I don't know what we're going to talk about. I think we're going to talk about Lyons Pride to start with.
I love it. I think we should talk about all of it. Yeah, let's
go. Well, we ain't got all day.
All right.
Let's talk about Lyons Pride. The first time I read anything about the character of Lion in the Four Horsemen universe, I'm sitting there thinking, why do they not tell us more? This is such a great character. And he keeps popping in and out. And you know that this is such a good character. And he seems so defeated, and you see little snippets, and you always read what's written, and you feel so sorry for him, and you never know why. And then all of a sudden this book pops up out of nowhere, Lyons Pride, and you now know all the reasons why you had all the feels for this character. And Marisa Wolf is the author that sits there with Chris and writes it. This is so good. Tell us how you got involved with this.
Yeah, so the Lyons Pride was an unexpected bonus for me. Chris and I had talked about writing a book together probably a couple years ago. And then when a bunch of the authors got together at Fantasy this past year, we talked about the Phoenix Initiative, which is the new phase for the Four Horsemen. And so we're talking it through, and Chris was like, oh, shoot, I should probably write a Vitano book. And I was like, oh, Chris, should that just be the book that we write together? He was like, oh, yeah, okay. And I would like the record to show that Kevin Steverson air high-fived me across the table for just like casually getting a book that way. I felt very proud. So we were going to write a Vitano book. Awesome. So Chris, being Chris, got into the Vitano book a little bit, and he was like, nope, no, we need another book before this. It's like, hey, Marisa, do you want to write 2 books with me? And who says no to that? So I said yes. And the first book was The Lyons Pride. We had a chunk of it done. He had it outlined already. So I got to just like jump in on the genius there. And it was so much fun. It was such a fun character. So many shenanigans. There's tragedy, there's triumph, there's peepo, there's bloodshed. It's all my favorite things. So we wrote The Lyons Pride.
So tell the people how long it took you and Chris to write 2 full novels.
We wrote it in about 4 weeks.
4
The 2
weeks.
novels. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Most authors would be happy to write 1 novel in 4 weeks. Most authors would be happy to write 1 novel in 4 months. And you wrote 2 novels.
I'm most authors. Yeah.
2 novels in 4 weeks. And the Lyons Pride, as I understand it, was a novel that you weren't planning on writing anyway. You were writing the other novel, but this novel said, "Hey, I've got to be written first." Is that correct?
Yeah. Yeah. It actually, we need this story before we can do that next story. So yeah, it got to jump the queue, and then I got to be involved with it, which was pretty cool.
Yeah, I got 2 for the price of 1. You made a good decision saying, "Hey, this is the book I need to write with you," isn't it? That's great.
I mean, yes.
So how did you get involved with CKP to start with?
Oh, it's all Casey Azel's fault.
Casey Azel, yeah, she's a troublemaker.
She is. She's my fave. So Casey and I have been writing together for years, lots of years, so many years. I'm not going to do the math. And we did fan fiction together for a very long time. And so when Casey, as Casey does, decided, you know what, I've been writing for a long time. I want to be published. I want to make money doing this. She did, and she got it done because she's amazing. So she had a couple things out, and then she came to the notice of Chris Kennedy, and they were doing the very first 4HU anthology. And she submitted a story. Some folks might remember it. It's the Gilded Cage. It was the very first in-print introduction of the Hunters. And they loved it, obviously, and said, "Hey, cool, Casey, you want to do a novel?" To which, of course, the answer is always yes. But also for Casey, the answer was yes, and I am very busy. What if I have this colleague of mine write with me? And Chris and Mark said, I mean, all right, but can she write though? So I wrote a short story. Has Casey told this story? Should I tell this story?
You can tell any story you want to. This is your podcast.
It's all about me. Okay. It's about me and Casey. So Casey sent me her short story and said, "Hey, what do you think of this?" Because I was one of her alpha readers back in the day, and I got to see all the stuff early. You all should be jealous. It was amazing. And so I read the story, and it was so good. And so I told her it was so good. And she said, "Yeah, awesome. Mm-hmm. So do you want to write a novel about it with me?" I was like, what? But, you know, as I said, the answer to do you want to write a novel is always yes. So I said yes. And that's how I was tricked into the CKP.
The character that Casey came up with, the not the character, I guess the alien species.
The race, yeah.
Yes. Is a great species, but the Depic is the one that I absolutely fell in love with. And then you wrote a novel with her ally, which...
Yeah, three novels with her.
Yes, but Ally in particular. That novel, I told Chris when we spoke about it on the podcast when it was released, that it made my heart of stone have the feels. And I told him several times that that might have been, up to that point, my favorite novel that he had ever published.
Oh my gosh! High bar.
It was a great book, and it tore my heart out. So I don't know who did the majority of the writing, or if the two of you together are more than the sum of your parts, but that is one of the best books I have ever read. That is such a great book. And if anybody is listening to this podcast and has not read this book, you do not have to be a Four Horsemen reader to enjoy this book. It is good just as a book. You certainly have a lot more backstory if you read the Four Horsemen universe, but this is just a good book, and it will make you have all the feels.
That is always the goal. We split, so all three, Assassin, Hunter, and Ally, are pretty 50. It
is, in the top 10 of all of the CKP books I have ever read.
Oh my gosh!
And I want to comment, the thread that moves through all the books that you have been involved with. If the thing that I can point to, in everything that I have read that you have been involved with, there are two things that stand out, character development and humor. I think those two things are your signature, in my opinion. And I may be completely wrong, but when I read a book, if they did not put names on the cover, I think I could say Marisa Wolf had something to do with this book, by how I can connect with the character, and the characters are three-dimensional and somebody that I would want to meet, and how humor is communicated in the book, while still having a serious tone. It's not so serious that it can't be lightened up by humor and appropriate points. And the Valkyrie Initiative is a great example of that. Even with the other authors that are throughout the anthology, you made sure that humor was interspersed in every story.
Yeah. Okay, so Randall, first, you can't see me, so I just need you to know that I am smiling so big right now, my face hurts, and we have not been on the phone that long. So those are my jam. You just summed up my jam in our first conversation together, and I love it. Characters that feel real, and you gotta laugh, because if there isn't joy in the world, what are we doing? So you might be laughing because the situation is so effed up beyond all repair that you gotta laugh about it, but you gotta laugh. And the Valkyries, I genuinely cannot take credit for the humor in the other authors' stories. I did not tell them that was a thing they had to do. These authors are phenomenal. I would work with any one of these ladies and our two token gentlemen ever. I mean, again, forever. I mean, they were all so amazing.
Well, while we're talking about it, let's talk about Valkyries Initiative. What was this? Was the Valkyries Initiative your idea, or was it handed to you and you went with it and led it? And tell us about some of the authors and give us an overview.
Okay. So in the beginning, the universe was created. Okay, so so William Allen Webb and Larry Hoy created the Hit World universe, which is a delight, folks. If you haven't read Hit World, I recommend it. Rob Howell, another amazing author, calls it genre gumbo, and that's what it is. It's a little bit of everything. It's primarily urban fantasy, but just about anything you could want would exist in Hit World. So assassination is legal if you do the right paperwork and you pay the right people. And other dimensions exist and are involved in our day-to-day life on the regular. So Larry and Bill kicked off this amazingly fun universe. And then sometime last year, Larry sent me a message and he was like, hey, I've got this anthology. Do you want to submit a story for it? Also, I need it in like 2 weeks. And I was like, oh, okay. Yes. Because that's what I say. Yes. And I don't even know if I had turned it in yet. I was just telling him what I was thinking. And he said, yeah, so here's this thing, Marissa. We need more women in Hit World. I think women are running the actual universe in universe. I don't think our readers are picking that up yet. So I want somebody to make that clear. And I want it to be you. And I was like, oh, okay. I'm pretty sure I didn't actually speak for about 5 minutes, which for folks who know me will know that is a significant amount of time for me to be silenced. So I was like, oh, okay. And he had the Valkyries idea. He knew he wanted it to be Valkyries. He wasn't entirely sure what it was going to do because Bill is a seat of his pants genius. He comes up with entire ideas because somebody said half of a word 20 miles away. I don't even know how he does it. He's like, yeah, we need to do this thing. And then you talk with him and you brainstorm and suddenly you have this fully baked, amazing thing. And so I talked with him and Larry. We talked about the Valkyries Initiative. I sent them a proposal. They were all about it. And then I put together what was the point of this anthology and what we're going to do. And here are some ideas I have. And the other great thing about Bill is he's like, yep, sounds great. Go forth. Like there was very little close management. He was like, you know what? Go ahead. Let's do this thing. So the things you see in this book come from three things. One, this universe is so much fun. And there is a rising threat in universe that needs to be handled outside of the usual channels. So we got that. Two, in our real world, I am so tired of the trope of action woman strong, action woman good, action woman best at all things. And she's not an actual person. And it's true for action heroes as well, but I'm a woman, so I take the action heroine a little bit more personally. And so specifically, I said to the authors, I do not want strong female woman. I want a badass chick who is a person and feels lived in and people are going to want to read about. And there can be shenanigans, there can be bloodshed. I don't care. But show us what makes her her and what happened that would make her get tapped for something like the Valkyries Initiative. And then the third thing is, I like to have fun when I read. Like, sometimes I like to learn things. Sometimes I like to cry. Sometimes I like to have my heart broken open. But I want to have fun. The world is heavy. So make it fun. And man, these authors delivered. So
the one who wrote the story about the real Valkyrie. Oh man, that was a powerful story.
Yeah. Well, we had two. Are you talking about April? There's April and there was Rob.
I'm talking about the one where she was riding the Pegasus and she was riding the winged horse and she came down and she had a specific objective and she was trying to figure out why this ordinary looking guy that was running a bar was the person that she was sent down to.
Yeah, I think that one's Rob's.
That was a great story.
It was so good. Chooser of the Slain. Yeah.
That's the name of it. Yes.
Yep.
And then the three older ladies show up.
No spoilers, y'all. But it's good. It's good. Yeah.
There's not a bad story in the bunch. I'm telling you.
Yes. Oh, thank you. Yes, go ahead.
I was just going to say, I've got to tell you what I told Chris earlier in the podcast.
Yeah, oh, please. Yeah.
I told him, and this is going to date me too. I told him, I said, you remember when you used to go buy an album, those black things that had the lines in them, and you put the needle on it, and music came out, and you were
I
really
bought records, yes.
Yeah, and when you bought one, you were really happy if you had two good cuts on an album. But every now and then, you would buy one, and every single cut was good, like Pink Floyd's The Wall or Sgt. Pepper, or the White Album. That was the unicorn. This is the unicorn. Every cut on the album is so good. And you listen to it. I've read the book twice. It's so good.
So you were the first person besides me to read the whole thing. And now since then, obviously our editor has also read the whole thing. And maybe by now Chris has also had a chance.
I think he has. But it's so good. It is. It should be a movie. I'm telling you, everybody. I said it earlier. I'll say it again. If you got money in your pocket, you don't know what to read next month. This is the book you need to take a stab at. It's big, guys. This is how you buy something at the beginning. There's going to be more of, and you're going to want to be in at the beginning.
Yes. Ground floor adopter, come with us on this. Yes, I love it. Thank you. That makes me so happy. I really can't say enough good things about the authors who contributed to this. And I have at least one completed novel in my inbox. So, people should definitely buy this so that we can get multiple.
Speaking of completed novels, you've done a whole bunch of stuff. You have been involved in every major universe that CKP publishes. You've been in the Four Horsemen universe. You've been in the Hit World universe. You've been in the Fallen World universe. You've been in the Salvage Title universe. You've been in multiple anthologies. When is Marisa Wolf going to be in the Marisa Wolf universe and have these novels all of her own?
Oh my goodness. So there's two different answers to that question. So my very own thing. I have a lot. I have a lot of those. I would say the year of Marissa and Brand New Universes is probably 2023.
Okay.
And the year of Marissa with only her name on a novel will be 2022.
Okay. So let's do 2022 first. When will we see? When will we see a book that just has one name on it that says Marisa Wolf?
Just me. So I have been promising Christopher Wood's My Fallen World novel for a year and a half now, and it is finally almost done. So Salt in the Wound will exist very soon. I'm really excited. So for folks who read that first Fallen World anthology, my short story Salt told the story of a mad scientist, basically, who kept his chosen people alive in his vineyard. And the novel picks up, he's there, but a viewpoint of a mad scientist for a whole novel felt exhausting to me. So this is his genetically engineered daughter, who you're going to follow as she gets into some fallen worldisms. Things will happen. So that, and then I'll have a Valkyries novel as well that will follow Bryn, who you will meet in the Valkyries Initiative in a few weeks.
Yeah, the story of Bryn and her friend was very good too.
Yay! Yes.
I really enjoyed that. And I love Bryn's mother. I hope we get to see her. Or not Bryn's mother, but Bryn's friend's mother.
Yeah.
Yes,
yeah.
I hope we get to see her again. She has possibilities.
Yeah. Well, I know the girl who writes her, so I'm pretty sure we pretty sure we can hook that up.
Cool. Let's see what else. Before I let you go, what else do I want to know? I could do this all day long.
I know, right? Me too.
It's like I've known you forever.
I know. I feel the same.
Is there anything?
World Enders, real quick.
Sure, go right ahead.
Yeah.
Talk to me.
Yeah. So that second book, the book Chris and I were supposed to write.
Oh, that was the other thing I wanted to talk about. I'm glad you said September 23rd, folks. That's sequel, the next book after Lyon's Pride, the book that I'm looking so forward to that I forgot completely about it. World Enders. World Enders. Go out and buy it now, especially if you read Lyon's Pride. Yeah. Tell us more about it.
Yeah, so it's not a direct sequel. You will see some characters and potentially locations from Lyon's Pride will pop up in World Enders. But World Enders basically tells the story of the very first Selsha peacemaker. And for folks who might not be familiar, Selsha are fancy otters. And he has some trouble because it turns out the universe wasn't quite ready for a otter peacemaker. And he in that you will also see one of the four horseman companies, a Vitano, a Fide, and I'm going to let you find out who that Fide is when you get in there, and maybe a disappearing cat or two. And shenanigans are absolutely going to ensue because the title is World Enders. And so a lot of stuff is going to go a lot sideways for every one of our characters. But yeah, it's definitely part of the Phoenix Initiative. So you'll see more of these characters in the future.
And that's September 23rd. Marissa, thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Can we do this? Can we do this again when we have a book with just your name on it?
Oh, please. Yes. Yes. Let's do this. Yeah.
I really enjoyed this.
Me too.
And guys, please go out and buy her books. I want her to be extremely successful. Oh, one more thing before we go.
Yeah.
Don't you have something coming out with Bain Books and an anthology soon?
Oh, I do. I have a couple things, but the very next one coming is January, early January. It's called Chicks in Tank Tops. Yeah.
Yeah.
Girls in their tanks. And I love my story so much in this one. I have not had a chance to read any of the others, so this is not to downplay their awesomeness. But I love mine so much that I am 100% working on making it into a novel. Because I can't let go of the characters. So, girl in her tank, you can't go wrong.
And if anybody wants to keep up with Miss Marissa and find out more about what she's publishing and where her books can be found, you can find her at Marissa with one R, Marisa, Wolf, WOLFE, MarissaWolf, all one word, MarissaWolf.net. And she puts all of her stuff there so that you can find it and you can go buy it. And that's how she makes her living. So spend money.
Come read my thing.
Come read her thing.
Come read my thing. You can sign up for my newsletter and you can get Salt, that short story that's going to lead into the novel. You can get that for free for joining my newsletter.
Thanks, Marissa. We'll talk to you soon.
You've been listening to the CKP Future Books podcast with host Randell Willis. If you enjoyed this podcast, please consider leaving it a review on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, or wherever you subscribe. Show likes and channel subscriptions are also much appreciated on the CKP YouTube channel. Finally, if you'd like to know more about this author or others on the CKP roster, visit chriskennedypublishing.com. Thanks for listening to the CKP Future Books podcast. We'll see you next time.